Let's talk about Emaar, arguably Dubai's most iconic developer. As an investor and resident, I have a deep appreciation for what they've built. But I also have some serious concerns, especially with their recent off-plan strategies. So today I'm breaking down exactly why I love Emaar and why I hate them too. From their impeccable community designs to their famously increasingly rigid payment structures. Let's see if by the end of this video, Emaar can manage to win my heart over and yours as well. But before we get into the video, don't forget to smash the thumbs up button, subscribe to see more of these videos in the future. And with that, let's begin with the video. Emaar is one of the few Dubai developers that consistently delivers projects on or even before scheduled timeline. That's why the number one reason why I love them is that they build fast and, most importantly, on time. That alone makes a massive difference as an investor. Delays mean lost rental income potential, uncertainty, and cash flow issues. With Emaar, I always feel that the timeline and also the quality is more reliable than 80% of the developers in this market. Secondly, they build not only fast, but with taste. And while I know many of my viewers might argue with me that the quality is not the best and so on, for me personally, I think for what they offer, it's a very, very good quality, and I really, really like the way of their designs. From facade to floor tiles, there's a design language with Emaar that feels intentional. They just simply don't cut corners, at least comparing to many other developers in this market. You can see this in Dubai Hills, Downtown, and Creek Harbor. And again, comparing to other competitors, materials and quality is more durable. Layouts make more sense, and aesthetics are clean. Emaar also creates real communities, and they actually take care of them. Emaar creates entire ecosystems, not just towers. Their communities feel alive. Green parks, jogging trails, skate parks, you name it. Public spaces with fountains, open lawns and sitting areas, and even barbecue areas in every single tower, at least here in Dubai Creek Harbor. But most importantly, well-lit streets with the same lighting and the same calmness, which gives an architectural consistency across all the buildings, and that makes it more pleasant for you as a tenant here. This creates a sense of belonging, not just a place to live in, especially in a city like Dubai, where it is sometimes hard to find this. It honestly keeps both owners and tenants happy, which increases demand and reduces turnover. They really have an immaculate design of the master communities, same style across everywhere. We even have ping pong tables outdoors and sitting spaces. It's really, really nice to live in this area. And not only in all the Emaar communities, I would assume so. Emaar's 24/7 maintenance, in my opinion, is one of the best in the UAE. The app works, the booking process is smooth for the maintenance guys, and most importantly, the people that they actually send in know what they're doing, comparing to many other developers in the game. Some developers even outsource their subcontractors, and this really creates a very different level of maintenance. So yeah, you get the point. I personally used that app for a couple of times to fix some things in the apartment. Really, the people that came in literally next day, they were super professional, very friendly, and they took care of everything with checking and testing it all over again. And honestly, I lived in some other buildings by other developers. This was not the case. And while I know I might get hate from some tenants in Emaar buildings that probably they had some issues and this wasn't the case for them, obviously this happens. I mean, I'm just saying what happened to me, and I know that of course there will be cases where people are unsatisfied, but so long, it's been almost a year living fully in an Emaar building. I really, really am happy with this. Yes, we had some issues with the apartment, but also the building is new, and usually with newer apartments, you always get some issues, and that happens with all the developers. So as an investor, I know this and I understood this from the beginning. That's why for me it was really crucial and important for this maintenance app to work well, and it did the job perfectly. Unlike other communities where you find a laundromat nearby to the shawarma place, Emaar curates its retail tenants. This leads to another point, which is high standards for commercial tenants. And that you might think is not important, but trust me, when you live in the community, it actually makes a huge difference. That means big and well-known names, clean brands, restaurants with chains all over the world, the good ones specifically because they really ask them and interview the owners or the subsidiaries who are moving to these areas before allowing them to get this commercial tenancy contract, which of course creates consistency. When you live or invest in one of their buildings, your ground floor F&B outlets actually add some value as in the experience of the tenant. Emaar really looks at your international track record, and if you have an restaurant or just a business that is super profitable, you might have good turnover, you might not get accepted because they are really interviewing you properly. And that's why sometimes in those areas you might see there are a lot of empty commercial spots. But that's not because people don't want to rent there. That's because Emaar interviews them. No random shops, no name restaurants. That makes a big difference. And you know, as a resident here, that the quality of the upcoming F&B outlets is going to be top-notch. The little things also add up, and the infrastructure gives you a very premium feel. Air-conditioned parking, always clean and serviced and maintained daily at an immaculate level versus many buildings in downtown and Business Bay, for example. Scented lobbies using Emaar's own scented fragrance, which is honestly impeccable. You always smell it and you feel that this is an Emaar building. I absolutely love it as a resident. Most importantly, professional concierge and service desks. Even the elevators and everything surrounding it feels smoother. The receptions are really well thought. They are well designed with some elements of wood, and they really look nice and they feel welcoming because you want to come home and feel calm. It is the attention to detail that makes Emaar feel like a tier above others. Finally, it's construction that actually respects the tenants and the residents around. In some areas, which are actually my favorite for investment, like Business Bay, construction may be very brutal. They could work 24/7, they can disturb the residents and the tenants, and that happened quite often even when I lived in Business Bay. With Emaar, the project phasing, at least from my observation, was way smarter. They don't throw 20 nearby towers in construction at once. Yes, they do have a couple of towers in line, but somehow they are managing it in a way so you're not really disturbed. Of course, also the sound isolation inside is very high level, and honestly, even if you are neighboring some construction, you probably won't hear anything. Projects are more spaced out as well, and nighttime noise is minimal or even not there. For end users and investors that are owning these units, that means better livability and fewer complaints. Honestly, great overall ecosystems with also Emaar branded hotels such as Vida and Adres, great rooftop bars, great welcoming stuff. It makes a very big difference when you live in this community. And if I didn't bore you enough with all these things that I love, because they are definitely absolutely overweighting the things that I hate, well, let's go to the ones that I think I have some concerns about. And while I didn't mention anything about pricing and payment plans in the things that I love, this is when I will mention this, because this is something that they can actually work on and improve to really win my heart over and become a total Emaar ambassador. Off-plan prices honestly are quite out of control, and this is my main concern. And it's not because I have a problem with the developer. It's actually because I want to invest more with them. So that is my issue. I really want to buy more off-plans with Emaar, but the off-plan prices really don't make much sense to me, at least at this moment. That's why I personally am looking into ready Emaar units. So the brand is there, is really good. And I would love to get more but currently the ready market makes more sense to me personally because I would be able to cash flow right away from that. Emaar's recent launches are priced probably good, but comparing to the secondary market, they are way off, and it doesn't really make sense to me. And I spoke about this in a couple of other videos. I'm not saying they might not increase, they actually might be valid, but at least when you look at the secondary market and you have the possibility to get in there, that's when it actually doesn't add up for me. You're losing 3 to 4 years of potential rental income, which is quite a lot when you get into an off plan. And that's exactly the moment that they should compensate the investor and give a better price to them for their wait times. I mean, even that would make sense and could be corrected if the payment plan was at least more flexible. But that is my second issue because the payment plan is very rigid and not flexible. Let's face it, the payment plan structures with Emaar are not investor friendly. 70-30, 80-20, that's more or less a mortgage probability. Yes, many investors can get a better payment plan or some discounts when they buy in bulk, which is something that I, of course, would be very interested to learn more about. But for a normal investor or just a daily investor who wants one unit, that makes it very difficult for them to sustain that payment plan. Installments are also high at around 10% every few months, and there is very little flexibility if your situation changes. And the reason why I said that the first point that I mentioned with the off-plan prices wouldn't really make a big difference is when the payment plan would be more flexible. So let's say 5%, and then in a few months, another 5%. Maybe that's when I would actually consider the off-plan prices because, yeah, you're basically delaying these payments, and usually all the Emaar buildings are actually appreciating in price. They're really good buildings, so they are very, very good brand. It's one of my favorite brands. But when you have such strict and inflexible payment plans, you can actually maybe better get a mortgage because at the end of the day, during this first year, you most probably will end up paying at least 40%, which is the minimum down payment even for an international mortgage. Basically, these are the two main things which, if there would be any small changes made to that, and I hope this video will be taken as a very good constructive feedback, then that's when Emaar will definitely win me over and I'll get more into the Emaar off plans. Other smaller things which I think I found quite frustrating, that's the security. Simply could be better. In some of the Emaar buildings, security is super strict and they don't allow anyone inside. In other buildings, security is really relaxed and they don't really care of checking the people going in and so on, which honestly, it doesn't really have to do much with Emaar at all. It happens in most of the developer buildings in Dubai. But I think if they would impose a bit more to be more strict, I think that would make quite a big difference. At the same time, there is quite a lot of bureaucracy anyway. Emaar's internal policies can sometimes work against the residents. For example, if you don't have a document in place, your movers, when you actually get your furniture delivered, won't be allowed in. And it happened to me personally once as well. And it was very frustrating because they were waiting there and I had to reschedule the delivery to repay for that as well because I simply didn't have one document with me at that right moment, and I was even outside the country. It was really difficult. Receptionists really followed the book to the letter, which again is good, but sometimes I would like it to be a bit more flexible. So as you can see, these small frustrations can snowball, especially when new owners or tenants are just moving in. So basically not big things. They can definitely be simplified and made way more flexible. And I personally think they are working on this because I see so many more improvements into the Emaar app and new features. So definitely something's going on there. At least with Emaar, I know for a fact that they are investing in the customer experience. At least I felt it from my side. Maybe you can tell me in the comments below what was your experience, but I definitely see so. And I guess another good thing that that I would add to them if we go back to my love for Emaar is that as a resident, you actually get discounts in your community. So if you go to a restaurant as a resident, you would get 15%, even 20% sometimes. This is something I didn't mention, and I think it's very important because it really gives you a feeling of home, or good customer service, which I've never seen in any other developers' buildings. Now, if you love Emaar communities as much as I do, but hate overpaying on the off plans, I highly recommend checking out Wim Real Estate. They've helped many of my clients secure off-market units in Emaar's top communities like Dubai Hills, Downtown, and Dubai Creek Harbor, often at significantly better prices than the current off-plan launches. Emaar and his team are sharp, transparent, and always hunting real value. They have quite a big inventory on ready available units, so definitely reach out to them, check the links in the description, visit their website and Instagram page for daily updates. So to wrap up, here's the bottom line. Emaar builds amazing communities. There is no question to that. Their product is beautiful, cohesive, and highly livable. From construction quality to maintenance to commercial units, they're really best in class. And that's why I rank them in the top category in one of my previous ranking videos. But they're also becoming harder to justify from an investor point of view. At least when we speak about the off-plan pricing, the rigid payment plans, and lack of investor incentives that kind of created a difficult situation for us to actually want to get more into the offline market. If they can realign their market pricing to adjust the market reality with the secondary units also made by them, and on top of that offer a little bit more flexible payment structures, they'd be almost untouchable. And honestly, I would be probably their biggest ambassador. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that like button, subscribe for more real estate insights, and let me know in your comments what was your experience with Emaar. Would you invest again? With that, see you in the next one.